back to Area 51 and a half, where we talk about all things science fiction, fantasy, horror, and pop culture. As always, I am your host, Spooky Uncle John, and with me are my Millennium Falcons. First, my co-host and producer,
Snyderman 501, Nick Snyder.
And our Techno Mage,
Ren, a.k.a. Pyre Lily.
Guys, oh my god, what a way to start this week's podcast. Listen. I'm not political. You know that, right? You know that I vote how I feel I should. I don't get involved in politics. I don't get involved in social things. Whoever you are, be whoever you are, I don't care. But this week, I have to dive into it a little bit because I'm not even going to name names because this person just, they have two options. Either they go see a plastic surgeon and completely change their visage and go to a place like Greenland or some secluded island or a primitive culture or yeet themselves off the planet.
They should go to Sentinel Island. Because
this person, this reporter, and I'm doing the air quotes, I use the term lightly, wrote an article in an extreme right magazine, Facebook, I don't know what it was, just came to my attention, where they did the ultimate in stupidity, where the left and the right have been united, where even the extreme right is just like, what's wrong with you? This person did the ultimate stupid move. You ready, aliens? She came for Dolly Parton. And the internet has exploded with the left and the right. I picture it this way. That all these people were just like on that extreme right were going, Trump, yeah, he's our man. Yeah, you're right. And then she's like, writes something else. And they're just like, yeah, we agree with you. And it's like, and Dolly Parton is a hypocrite. Hey, whoa.
Record scratch.
Whoa, girl, you're on your own. You are on your own. She has peeved off the entire world. She needs to go because, girl, she's got drag queens and bikers and rednecks and basically the entire cast of True Blood, the population of Bon Temps, if you will, coming for her. No, I'm
like that. That's basically the cast of True Blood.
It's basically accurate. You know, it's like, girl, you don't come from Dolly Parton. The things that people are saying, like one of my favorites is like, we ride at dawn.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You come for Dolly Parton, we ride at dawn. Actually, never mind that. We ride right now.
I know. And then there was like this one person said, Dolly Parton isn't Jesus, but the jury's still kind of out on that. So, I mean, it's just like, listen, this woman has donated millions of dollars to multiple charities. She is the kindest, most loving, most accepting person on the planet. She doesn't care what your background is. She doesn't care if you're left, doesn't care if you're right. She stays out of the politics. Her whole mantra is keep your opinions to yourself and live and let live. This is somebody you do not come for.
My thought on this is someone who is, one, trying to rile up a certain group of people and failed miserably, and two, looking to make a name for themselves because nobody comes for Dolly.
I don't know if either one of those things is true. What I think is probably true is that she dumb.
Uh-huh.
She has just been living under a rock and was tone deaf onto the love that the vast majority of people have for Dolly Parton. And on that note, Nick, remind our aliens how they can get a hold of us.
Well, you can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at the Area 51H. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Area 51 and a half. And if you are in the position to help our podcast grow, please consider checking out our Patreon for exclusive goodies and a shout out on our show. That's patreon.com/A51H.
Ren, this is happening so quickly. You know what time it is already?
What time is it?
Time for Nick's Pop Culture Roundup.
Well, we've got more Deadpool 3 news. Kinda. We got our very first look at Lady Deadpool's legs. So they put out a social media post with our first look at Lady Deadpool. It is just her legs, and there's a lot of fan speculation over who these legs actually belong to.
I just know they don't belong to me.
Nor me.
But how do they know, like, of all the people in the world, how do they know, 5 people that they could guess that these legs belong to this person? Like, what? Are you that obsessed with movies?
Yeah, some people are, yes.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of hoping it's Blake Lively. That would be spectacular, yeah.
There are people who have taken the picture of the legs and spliced pictures of different actresses to try and match them up.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
Oh my gosh.
They've done it with Blake Lively. They've done it with Taylor Swift. More creatively, they've done it with Elizabeth Olsen. But...
Okay, but I could totally see Taylor Swift doing it, because why wouldn't Deadpool / Ryan Reynolds get Taylor Swift? Because she's the biggest thing, make her into Deadpool. Like, why not?
I can see that. I can see that. I can see where you're going with that. But is the girl too busy? Like, she's been...
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
she's been really,
I know.
really busy. Like, would she have had the time to do this?
Also, apparently Disney's been after her to play Dazzler as well, so...
Oh.
I mean, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Kind of has the look, yeah. Yeah.
But...
Guesses, Nick.
Off the top of my head, Blake Lively makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But, and it would kill me if they superimposed Ryan Reynolds' face onto a woman. I would die. I would die. They would do it too.
When it comes to Ryan Reynolds, all bets are off.
Uh-huh.
Because he just comes out with these things that you don't expect and gets the Order of Canada in the process. So
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And we salute you, Ryan Reynolds.
we salute our moose overlords. Okay, Nick, what's next?
Well, the new Predator film, Badlands, looks to see the alien hunter facing off against Ellie Fanning. So Amber Midthunder will be set to return to kick more alien ass in Prey 2, but they're making another one called Badlands. Now, that one makes me think desert, makes me think Old West.
Right.
I think that might be the case, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
I think so. I think they're probably... It's kind of neat what they're doing with this franchise by having these kind of things in the past and because Prey made so much sense.
Yeah.
And Badlands, as you've described it, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see Elle Fanning in it. I can't wait to see Amber Midthunder again.
I know.
And you know what? This is the thing. I love Indigenous names. What a fantastic name she has.
Right.
Amber Midthunder. I mean, it doesn't get more badass than that as far as names go. And so I can't wait to see that kind of spin and story, because I enjoyed Prey. You and I talked about it
loved Prey.
in season 2, I think.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with Prey 2, because I bet you the budget's a little higher.
I'm hoping so.
I, for one, can't wait for Victorian costuming and maybe some steampunk elements too.
That would be kind of cool.
Crazy with the steampunk.
Yes.
Listen, this... Oh my God, can you imagine the cosplay?
Just wait.
This franchise has unfortunately been farting along for the better part of 4 decades. So to see them find something to make it unique, to make it better, is great. And just doing this throughout history thing is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with the Alien franchise too, which I saw part of the trailer for.
I saw the full trailer.
Okay, now listen. You know me. I've said it here, Aliens, numerous times. I'm saying it again. There comes a point where I'm already vested. If the trailer starts showing me too much, I'm like, okay, that's it. Nope, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done watching the trailer, which is what happened. It looks exciting. Can't wait.
My thing with this film is when I first saw Don't Breathe, I watched and I was like, I need to see Fede Alvarez do an alien film. And now he's doing an alien film.
There you
go. I am jacked for this. So yeah, that is going to be balls to the walls. Fantastic. I can't wait. And finally on the roundup, we have Bill Skarsgård returning as Pennywise for Welcome to Derry on Max.
Oh yeah, the television series Welcome to Derry. I believe they will be filming that in Port Hope yet again.
They are.
Which is great.
It's either, I'm not sure if they've wrapped it, but I know they have been filming.
Yeah, I know that. Well, if it's an ongoing series, they will continue to do that. I've been to Port Hope because it's like 15 minutes from Coburg, where my aunt used to live.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so my mother and I, we took a little trip and kind of saw all the spots. And I rewatched as my Friday night fright flick, It, with Bill Skarsgård. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense now. Now I can see all the different scenes from Port Hope. So lovely town, but it's like the San Francisco of Ontario. It's like they have hills. Oh my God, hills. Oh,
I love some hills.
Oh no, but like the city is built like on a hill. I'm just like, oh, okay. But you know, like, here's the thing. You're looking at Bill Skarsgård. As far as I'm concerned, like he's the only one who could follow in Tim Curry's footsteps, because Tim Curry was the best thing about the It miniseries back in the 90s. Hard act to follow, but having just rewatched it, he followed it really well.
I'm really glad they have Bill Skarsgård returning, because I was honestly worried about what poor schlub would have to follow his act in the movies. So, I'm all for it.
And it's great when you rewatch something and you see all the little Easter eggs, like the original. There's an original doll that looks like the original Pennywise and Tim Curry, and then there's like the line "Beep beep, Richie." You know? And it's just it's wonderful. I wish that the young cast, two of them have kind of yeeted themselves up into an upper echelon, particularly Finn Wolfhard. But you know, some of the other cast, I want to see more of them, especially now that they're older.
Yeah. And like with some of them, like Jeremy Ray Taylor, who played Ben, I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. But like when you look at Jaden Martell, Sophia Lillis, and Jack Dylan Grazer, they've all done a bunch of stuff since these films ended.
Yeah, Jack Dylan Grazer's in Shazam.
Sophia Lillis was in Dungeons and Dragons. She had a TV series on Netflix. Like they're doing very well for themselves.
And you know, and they're fine young actors. That's why I say I'd like to see them grow into some mature roles now that they are older.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Sophia Lillis is like around 22, something like that.
They've got to all be in at least their early 20s at this point.
Yeah, and they did a spectacular job. I mean, all month long, guys, just so you know, all month long, my theme is basically It. I started with this first chapter. Next Friday will be the second chapter, and then I'll explore the miniseries.
God, okay. Just very quickly. Love the first half of the miniseries. The second half, other than Tim Curry, kind of bites it. But anyway.
Well, okay, before we get into our main topic, let's just talk about that just a little bit. What you can do in television versus a movie is vastly different. What you can do with the money is vastly different, especially because, here's the thing, all of these were on ABC. Mm-hmm. At the time, Disney owned ABC. Disney was going in a very strange direction then, and they had the rights to Stephen King. There is legend. I can't prove it, but it seems logical. It's Stitch's Great Escape was a Stephen King ride, and it horrified people so much that they went, "We're changing this," and it was never spoken of again. I don't know if that's true. I'll say that right now. I do not know if that's true, but if it is, oh, that fills me with joy.
I'm trying to digest that. So you're saying that there may in fact have been a Stephen King ride at Disneyland?
Yes, that became Stitch's Great Escape. So if you've been to Disney World and you go to Stitch's Great Escape, it's fun because Stitch is this alien. You're in the dark. He gets out. There's things spit on you. Water gets here and things poke you in the back, and everyone laughs and ha 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 and then screams and has a good time, and you leave. Apparently, when it was a Stephen King kind of ride, it was still an alien escaping, but it was like devouring things, and so the spit is not Stitch's drool, it's blood from an alien pulling a person twain, shall we say.
So what you're saying is that nobody had a good time.
Nobody had a good time. And the suits at Disney allegedly, because I do not know if this is true, went, this was a mistake. Let's correct it.
Neat.
Don't know if it's true. Don't come for me if it's not true. Don't know if it's true. What we do know is true, though, is our main topic. Part 2 of iconic vehicles. Can't wait to get into this. Oh my God. Even shows. There were even movies and shows that the vehicles in them were in the title. They were such a part of the movie. I'm thinking like Car 54, Where Are You? The car itself isn't iconic, but the show is. And
My Mother the Car.
My Mother the Car. The Poseidon Adventure. The Poseidon Adventure. Oh my God. The ship becomes a character because, and the funny thing about it is the ship kind of becomes the villain because you have to escape it. And every time the passengers are trying to get out, every time they're trying to escape and survive, something new gets thrown at them as the ship's like, peace out, I'm sinking. Do what you got to do, but I'm not going to make it easy for you. So, Ren, where do we start with these iconic vehicles? Part 2.
Well, I'm going to start with some real life iconic vehicles.
Okay, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, they work their way into movies and into our media. But let's start with first, how about the Titanic?
Speaking of sinking ships, right?
Yes. So, Titanic, obviously we all know the story. And then it got turned into a very sad movie. And, you know, it's kind of unfolded from there. But the Titanic...
Woman, there was room on that door for Jack.
Okay, fine. But the fact of the matter is, if he had tried to get up on it, she wasn't heavy enough to balance him. She would have pulled her into the water.
I'm telling you, Jack must have loved Rose, but I'm just like, I'd be like, girl, bye. Felicia, bye.
Felicia.
I'm going to live. I'm going to live. But, you know, it's interesting because, yes, that interest and fascination with the Titanic really has never gone away.
No, I mean, there's so much mystery about it still that, like, people are still... You know, we've obviously found the wreck.
It's almost gone, too. From what I understand, I read an article that it said within so many years, it'll be completely...
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But, you know, people don't want to bring it out of the water because...
It wouldn't survive.
Well and it's not surviving in the water, so...
But also it's seen as, like, that's its own graveyard.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, like, if this article is true and it is starting to disintegrate and so forth and so on, you need to salvage all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get it. If you can. That
is a whole other different topic. But still, it's, you know, you hit an iceberg, and that's like
it's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. And, you know, sinking like the Titanic. Like, it's come into our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and we do have that fascination with seafaring vessels in our pop culture. Think about Gordon Lightfoot's song, the Edmund Fitzgerald, you know, down there on Lake Superior, I believe.
And that falls under the same category of Titanic. Do they raise it? Do they rescue? Do they just leave it alone?
And and depending on your age, too, there's a saying out there, it's like, how are you feeling today? I feel like the wreck of the Hesperus. I don't know what the Hesperus was. That's an old one, but people feel like the wreck of it. So, I mean, we've always had this fascination with these kind of ships. And another one that goes right along with the Titanic is the Hindenburg.
Oh, the humanity!
Oh, the huge manatee.
The huge manatee.
The huge manatees that you can see in Florida.
Yeah, the Hindenburg and Zeppelins in general. Yeah. Like, it's
all part
similar.
Of steampunk. It's all part of diesel punk.
Yep. I mean, even Indiana Jones, he knocks the person out, no ticket. Like,
yeah. But I mean, well, and that actually was the Hindenburg.
Was it actually a Hindenburg?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure. Well, let us pause and find out.
So it looks like the dirigible, the Zeppelin, was a D-13A, which is modeled after the Hindenburg. Okay. It's implied that it's the Hindenburg, but it's never outright stated.
Right, but if that's the impression they're giving us, then that's the impression we're going to take from it.
Yeah.
But, you know, they did a movie about the Hindenburg, a biopic. It starred George C. Scott.
And they used one of the establishing shots from the Hindenburg in The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And finally, we'll go with the Mini Cooper.
Mini Coopers just seem to be everywhere. When I was a kid, My best friend's older brother had a Mini Cooper. Mini Coopers are a very iconic UK car. We've seen them in all kinds of places.
We've seen them in the Italian Job.
Yeah.
Austin Powers,
Yep.
the Spice Girls.
Yep.
They rode
of
in
course.
at the Olympics.
Yep. It's just an iconic car, no matter whose it is.
Yeah, you always see it from the side, but it's not. It's once you get from the top with the Union Jack on it, then you're like,
Yeah.
that's a Mini Cooper. There's no competing, like So that I don't know. That's everywhere.
Yeah,
It kinda
it's
pops
everywhere.
up everywhere. but-
Everywhere.
So now we're going to move from real life into one of the oldest versions of media, the radio.
The radio.
And we're going to talk about the Black Beauty from the Green Hornet.
Now, the Green Hornet obviously started on the radio,
Yes.
but it also became a 60s television show
Yep.
akin to Batman.
Yeah, they even had a crossover.
Yep. And that's where we really get to see the Black Beauty. And I think there were movie serials for the Green
So there's-
Hornet
Yes.
as well.
So it started on the radio, which it was not described on the radio. They never went into what kind of car it was, but the horn was defective and made the buzzing sound.
Right.
So this is interesting. So it's the horn on the first time, and then in the movie serials, it was a 1937 Lincoln Zephyr, and there was a special fuel that made the buzzing sound.
Okay.
Then in the TV show, in 1966, it was a 66 Imperial Crown,
Right.
and that's when the engine made the buzzing sound.
Yeah, and I think when we think of the Black Beauty, I think that's the version that we
Yes.
think of most.
Yeah, that's the one that we can really kind of think of. So they actually used the sound of the car from the radio show in the TV show.
Yeah.
And when they had it go silent, they would just cut the soundtrack. They'd cut the engine out. And that's how they made it go silent, was they just...
It's interesting doing theater, too, because we did a pantomime, Jack and the Beanstalk, and I was the bad guy, Flesh Creep. And you pay your royalties to make sure that you can use music, right? So in one of the fight scenes, they used the theme from Batman. Everybody, I mean, it made sense, right? The pow and the zap and all that kind of stuff. Well, then there was another fight scene later on.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know what to do. And I said, listen, if you're going to use Batman in this, use the theme song from the Green Hornet for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out spectacularly. It was great.
Yeah.
That show was Bruce Lee's introduction to Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
And then Now Comics came up, because it's been in comics for a while. So 1989-ish, it was a Pontiac Banshee. And then it moved to the four-door sedan that was based on the 91 to 96 Oldsmobile 98 touring sedan. And then it's obviously in the Seth Rogen movie,
Yeah,
and then it's going to be in the animated series that's coming out.
Ooh.
So it's going to, it's had a lot of different versions of it, and I'm sure there's going to be 100,000 more.
Yeah.
But the channel that Green Hornet was on was known as the two-car station, because there was Batman and Green Hornet, and that's what they were known for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going from there, we'll go into, how about some cartoons?
More cartoons, yes.
And we're going to start off first with the cars that are inside of robots, and they kind of like change shape. What are they called?
Are you talking about Mask? What? Oh, GoBots.
Nick, really? You?
This is entertaining, actually.
They might transform
They
into
might
something?
transform into something.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Nah, Transformers.
So
More
we
than
got-
meets the eye.
So there's a Chevy Camaro.
So let's talk about the Chevy Camaro for a second. The Chevy Camaro obviously is Bumblebee from the movies, and some of the subsequent cartoons. Bumblebee was. We'll talk a little bit more about this vehicle more. Was the Volkswagen Beetle initially, but yeah, when the movies came out, Volkswagen said absolutely not to your violent ways, and so they went with the Camaro. And he has been several different forms of Camaro since.
Several different forms.
Several different
So
forms.
he has transformed yet again.
Well, so he starts off in the first movie as, like, I think it's the 76 Camaro, which is supposed to be considered the worst Camaro. And then
I think the newest Camaros are the worst looking Camaros, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, so they certainly don't have the style, but he winds up turning into several different versions of a souped-up Camaro, so...
Well, it's interesting that Bumblebee got his own movie instead of just doing a Camaro in another one.
So one of my favorite What?
The jokes are just going over your head today.
That first joke was all me. I knew what they were talking about.
Oh, sure you did. But I just said about Bumblebee doing a Camaro role in... Never mind.
I'm so confused.
Cameo.
Right. Oh,
play on words.
A cameo. That was terrible.
I know it was. Carry on.
All right. My wayward son.
That's later. How about Optimus Prime?
All right, so Optimus Prime is a Freightliner FL86 cab. So he's a cab over engine truck. So they got that flat face thing going on. I have had so many variations of Optimus Prime in my collection over the years. It is ridiculous. But anyway, when I was a kid and I saw that type of truck, it didn't occur to me that it was an Optimus Prime.
Honestly, you're probably not the only kid that
Yeah, I
thought
know.
that.
Did you go up and try and talk to him and say, transform, damn it?
No, because
Do it!
normally I saw them on the road, and you don't normally walk up to trucks on the road because they'll run you over, like Gage.
So, obviously, all the Transformers are some sort of vehicle, and we are not going to get into the list of all the Transformers.
No.
But the two most iconic ones that everybody knows, especially nowadays, would be Optimus Prime and Bumblebee.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, your favorite, Starscream.
Dude. The cartoon with that voice, it's everything to me. Because I just want him to... It's almost like he's like some sort of Broadway choreographer. He's like a diva of sorts. When
He is!
Because he just needs to go, Starscream!
Legit, Starscream is all about the drama. All about the drama. Let me tell you. Oh my god.
Oh, here's one that is another one of your favorites.
Okay.
The Turtles Party Wagon.
Oh, the Turtles Party Wagon, yeah. So, the Turtles Party Wagon was one of those toys that I wanted as a kid and never got because it was expensive. But I'm an adult with adult money, and now I have
can't
it.
get it.
I have one.
Do you?
Yeah, it's just not out.
Oh, never mind.
So yeah, like, there's... Okay. The original Ninja Turtles line, I'm not even going to talk about the cartoon on this. The original Ninja Turtles line had so many different vehicles to sell, whether it was the surfboard or the pizza shooter tank, whatever. But it was the party van that every kid wanted because it did... The play features on it at that time were ridiculous. It had a spring-open door. It could shoot missiles. You could knock the foot over with it. You had all the little fancy sticker decals. It was so awesome. So awesome.
It's interesting that you bring up toys, too, because it's now thinking my mind into Hot Wheels and Matchbox.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Big Jim's Rescue Rig. And, of course, Barbie's car. I mean,
oh, geez, Barbie's pink car, yeah.
And even, when you get it, like, there's so many things that we could talk about. Like, even in reality, we were talking about reality for a minute, like the Mary Kay pink car. Like you could get a pink Cadillac if you were in the upper echelons of the Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, dude, like, you would have to have, like, so many people beneath your pyramid scheme on that. But, I mean, like...
But it was worth it for the pink car.
But a pink Cadillac, I mean, that's... harkens back to Elvis. You've got all kinds of songs about pink Cadillacs. I mean, it's just these cars. It's mind-boggling. We didn't know how deep of a dive we got into when we chose this as a topic.
I know. We've still barely scratched the surface.
Speaking of scratchings, speaking of wrecks, speaking of holes in the sides of things, this is such an iconic vehicle that has everything to do with the classic TV show that it comes from, that you cannot have the show without it. It's right in the theme song, the SS Minnow from Gilligan's Island.
What is the SS Minnow? Yeah.
It was a tiny ship that was tossed. Now, my Millennium Falcons, sometimes the internet is a horrible place to be, and sometimes it's a glorious place to be.
You don't say.
Oh yes, because there was a thread, and it was great, and it was talking about what kind. I should have written it down, but it was talking about what kind of ship the SS Minnow was, and of course, people it's like just enjoy the damn show. He was saying how the type of ship that the SS Minnow was couldn't possibly have gone this far because it's this type of a cutter, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, my God.
But the rest of us, one guy said, starts off about the storm, about the weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed. This was his whole point to this guy. But then the rest of us start going and start doing all the rest of the theme song.
Yep.
So he starts off, the weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed. And then another guy says, if not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. Another person wrote, the minnow would be lost. And then another person writes, the ship's aground in the darkness. And we just kept going on. I got the skipper, so I just went, the skipper too. That's when I had seen it. And it was glorious. And it's like, shame on you, guy. Shame on you. Who cares what kind of ship the Minnow was? It's the SS Minnow. It's stranded there. It's got holes in it. In the early episodes, they didn't have huts. They were living off of the ship. They saw the SS Minnow there in the lagoon.
And I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I'm not looking for nautical accuracy in a show where the professor is making everything out of coconuts.
Yeah. And Marianne, she can bake a coconut cream pie with just coconuts. There's no flour. There's no but somehow she can miraculously do this. I'm not. Yeah, it's a fun show. Kiddies, find it. Watch it. You won't be sorry.
I used to, that was one of the shows I'd watch when I was homesick from school.
Yeah.
The rest of us just had The Price is Right.
Well, I didn't have
ginger
basic
ale and soda crackers and chicken noodle soup.
I didn't have basic cable like you barbarians.
Barbarians? You're the one who's in the primitive culture with no cable. Oh my God. You, sir, are the barbarian.
No, what I mean is I had the expensive channels.
Oh.
So
Fancy Pants McGee over here.
Mr. Elite had HBO in its early days. He had the movie channel.
But did you have the Beverly Hillbillies truck?
No, I never had the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't have any of these trucks. What are you asking me that for?
The Beverly Hillbillies truck. Oh, gosh. You got to love it. First of all, it's a show about people who are fish out of water. I mean, we all know, again, fabulous ballad, the Ballad of Jed Clampett. Where it's like his relatives say, load up the truck and move to Beverly. From the Ozarks to Beverly Hills. This is where Jed Clampett, the hillbilly, goes in his truck. And you see this truck. I love it. You see this truck. It's got barrels on it. It's got Granny's rocking chair up top. This is the most ghetto beat up thing you'd ever seen. They're always trying to repair it. And of course, Mrs. Drysdale, who lives next door, is just beyond herself with this thing and how ugly it is. And it's just, I just love all of those sitcoms from back then because it shows just the abject snobbery. And one of my most favorite things is when they did the movie and it shows the hillbillies coming to LA.
Yeah.
And it's like they say, oh, that's a California howdy as people are flipping them off on the highway, right? And they figure that must be a California howdy. And Jed, in this case, played by Jim Varney, yeah. They sit there because it's modern LA, not 1960s LA, and you see like these gang members and they pull out a gun and Jed's goes, oh, show him his gun. He gets out his shotgun as they're going down in this truck. It's gold. It's gold.
I remember watching Beverly Hillbillies as a kid in Scotland. And legit, because I was a kid thinking, this is what Americans are like.
Now, since we're talking about 1960s sitcoms, I have to talk about these two cars. These are near and dear to my heart for sure. the Munster coach and the Dragula.
Oh, of course.
Grandpa's Dragula. And you know what's great about this is that they were part of a couple episodes. You know, like Lily wanted to get, this is how the Munster coach came into being. Lily wanted to get an anniversary present for Herman, I think, and she was looking at these cars. Listen, the price of used cars in the 1960s, $700.
Yep. Sounds about right.
I'm just like, really? Oh, that hurts my heart. So she says, here's what I want you to do, because she sees two cars that she likes. So she has them chop the car and make the Munster coach. And of course, then you get Grandpa's Dragula, right? Which they race in Hot Rod Herman and all that kind of stuff. But what's great about it is because Rob Zombie, our dear old friend Rob Zombie, who did the Munsters as a prequel movie, loved the Munster coach so much he wanted it for his video Dragula. Oh no! Sorry, he wanted Dragula. He wanted the Dragula car, but he settled for the Munster coach.
Yeah, he couldn't get the Dragula.
Yeah, I got that backwards. Pardon me. It happens. I'm old. Whatever. But I just love it. And I have this beautiful shot from our friend Butch Patrick. Autographed it. It's this wonderful shot. I don't know who took the photograph, but he's in his Eddie Munster costume because they did promotions at malls and things. And Butch just loves these classic cars. And you see him not, even though he's Eddie Munster, you see this 10 to 12-year-old kid leaning up against the hood of just kind of in his little kid fantasy, admiring these cars. And it's just a wonderful picture. I love that picture so much, you know, because that's really what it is. It's that wonder. It's that excitement. It's that fantasy. And we have to pause here for a brief moment just to mention the creator of these iconic cars, George Barris. He created so many of Hollywood's iconic cars from like the 1960s right up into the 90s, maybe even 2000s, just designed them. Like Starsky and Hutch's car, the Dragula, the Munster coach, the Beverly Hillbillies truck. He designed all of these. They're fantastic vehicles. And what a rich legacy he has left us in these cars and trucks and all kinds of wonderful fantasy vehicles. Knight Rider, he designed that one. He designed KITT. It's just astounding how many vehicles he designed.
Oh my God, he did the Monkey Mobile.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Jeez.
It's hard to think of any of these shows and not think about George Barris.
Oh, he did Black Beauty as well.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
I just wanted to put that out there. Put that out there before we moved on.
How about the A-Team van?
You know the A-Team van. Who doesn't know the A-Team van with that black van with that red stripe?
A pity the fool that doesn't know the A-Team van.
I know. And it's like almost a means to an end. That's how they got around.
Cargo van?
The Soldiers of Fortune.
Yeah.
Oh. So it was a GMC Vandura.
Ooh.
It's apparently what it was based on. Started with.
It's a muscle van for
muscle men.
Yeah, with some, especially when you're talking about Mr. T.
And you know what? I just love the fact that there's a Playmobil version of the A-Team van.
Yeah.
Because that is just like Playmobil's done some neat stuff over the years, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, but the A-Team van, that's just top notch right there.
And it's also a Hot Wheels.
Yeah. Strangely enough, and just going back to Transformers just for a second, because they've done a ton of crossover stuff. Ghostbusters, Top Gun, all sorts of different things, Back to the Future. But they don't have an A-Team van crossover. Heck, they even have a Stranger Things crossover. It's the pizza van.
Interesting.
Season 4. But anyway, yeah, I would love to see that.
You know, one of the most iconic cars, period, whether you're talking about pop culture or not, is the Gran Torino.
Yeah.
And, you know, we saw that in the Clint Eastwood movie, Gran Torino. We see them, I believe Gran Torinos are in the Fast and Furious somewhere.
Oh, God, they have to be. There's so many different cars.
Like, there's just, it's a wonderful, wonderful racing car. But the one that stands out to me and to anyone from Gen X will be Starsky and Hutch's Gran Torino. That wonderful red and white car that the undercover cops, Starsky and Hutch, every week drove. All I had to do was put a little red light on the dashboard. Whoop, or maybe it was on the roof. I can't quite remember. But and off they went in their adventures in their Gran Torino. And then they gave us that wonderful song by David Soul, Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. I'm not going to sing that song. Oh my gosh. I miss Starsky and Hutch. And then it got lampooned as a movie later on, with Ben Stiller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did.
I think I would have liked to have seen it. But I mean, how do you not make fun of a show that had a character called Huggy Bear?
Yeah.
Huggy Bear.
Wasn't it Snoop Dogg that played him in the movie?
Yeah, it was. And what a cast it is, too. I mean, I'd already mentioned Ben Stiller. So you have Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson as Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg is Huggy Bear.
Yep. Yep. We got Vince Vaughn, Fred Williamson, which is that's crazy. Juliette Lewis, who I absolutely love. Jason Bateman, Amy Smart, Carmen Electra,
yeah.
Chris Penn, Patton Oswalt. Obviously, I think Patton Oswalt's in there before he was, really Patton Oswalt, but still, what a huge cast. I haven't actually seen this film, so I might actually check it out.
Now, one that's probably closer to your guys' generation that's iconic, and also because I just love it. The 76 Supernatural Impala.
Oh, yeah.
I love Baby so much. There was actually several of them, and it's actually really hard to get your hands on a 76 Impala now, thanks to Supernatural.
Oh,
I'm sure it is.
Because they had a baby that was full, they had a baby that didn't work, they had a blown up one, they had partly disassembled one, they had basically all of the Impalas went to Supernatural.
I love when you see those memes where it's got the Mystery Machine, it's got the Ecto-1, it's got the Impala, and it's got all these things. It's like, something bad's going down.
Oh, yeah.
And even in Supernatural, they reference, there's the one episode that Sam gets stuck inside the Impala, and they make it like Kit. With the lights that go back and forth, and
That's
Sam
hilarious.
talks to Dean, and then when he closes the trunk, ow. It's so great. You can't have the Winchesters without the Impala.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's
think
a character in itself.
I think one of my favorite memes, I can't quote it exactly, but it's when Jeffrey Dean Morgan went on to The Walking Dead as Negan, and all the memes came out with showing the Winchesters, come get your dad.
Yes, get your father, please.
He's causing problems.
What a great show. That lasted a long time.
It lasted longer than it probably should have.
15 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should have stopped well before that.
But it was kind of interesting too, because at the height of the popularity, you started to see Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles branching off, and they were branching them off into horror movie remakes.
Yeah. Jared Padalecki specifically was in House of Wax and Friday the 13th.
And Jensen Ackles did the remake of My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And 10-Inch Hero. I watched a whole bunch of movies because I was obsessed with Supernatural. I was on Tumblr during the Supernatural phase. That tells you anything, listeners.
I'm disgusted.
No.
No,
there is no shame here. There is no shame here.
Honestly,
I'll remember that.
Sorry, it was great. One of my favorite parts was seeing when Crowley got there, and I was like, that's Badger! That's Badger from Firefly!
Right?
It took me a while, but I loved it anyway.
Okay.
I would still love if the Impala ever got to a con around here. I would pay big money to see Baby. I would. I've actually thought about doing a cosplay as Baby.
Whoa. Okay. How?
Badass rocker, leather coat, white shirt, possibly with a band on the front, jeans, belt buckle with the giant license plate as the belt buckle. You can rock it. I've seen people do it, and Jensen Ackles thinks they're amazing. There's been a lot of Baby cosplayers at cons. People get very creative.
That is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're going to dive into some movies, but specifically we're going to divide this up. We're going to talk about some iconic vehicles from Disney, and then we'll talk about other movies.
We'll dive into the rest of the list. Yeah.
So, of course, let's start with one that people probably aren't really thinking of. It's from an animated movie, and that is the Magic Carpet from Aladdin.
Yeah, it is an iconic vehicle.
It is a vehicle, and it is a character.
It was a myth from, I'm sure, way, way back. But Aladdin...
It's the Arabian Nights.
Yeah, but Aladdin has his magic carpet, and that's how he gets out of all of his problems.
Yeah.
Or causes problems.
That carpet sure is sassy.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, well, he saves Aladdin.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah. Or she saves Aladdin. I'm not going to... I don't know. It's a carpet. It has no gender, but...
The carpet always shows up at the right time, so would that be Deus Ex carpet? Deus Ex magic carpet?
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
I'll shut up.
Sure, we'll go with that. But I mean, you have this character. It's wonderfully animated. In the live action remake, it's also wonderfully animated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't really think of it. I mean, yes, Robin Williams as the genie steals the show, but you can't really think about.
Oh, he
Aladdin
was competing with the carpet. The carpet is like the Tinkerbell sassiness level. Like it's they can't. Yeah.
Sass. And funny, I don't know why. Listen, I'm going to bring shame to my house just a little bit. I don't know why, but every now and then I will be out somewhere, not where anybody can hear me, but like in my car. And for some reason, I just have to belt out the very first refrain and go, I can't do it because we could get sued, but I just will shout out, start singing Arabian Nights.
Yep.
I don't know why I do it. It's just my brain, the hamsters that run my brain just go, let's make him do this.
Every so often for me, it's Prince Ali.
I know, right?
The songs are just so catchy.
They're catchy,
They're wonderful.
Yeah, but I think you guys know what I mean, because I can't really say it, and I'm not talented enough to be able to do it in a different way. But I just do it, and I don't know why.
Another super iconic Disney vehicle is the pumpkin coach.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. How great would it be to have some granny bippity boppity boo a pumpkin into a conveyance so you can go to like the swankiest of balls?
I think that would be so cool. Like, I mean, when I was younger, I would have loved to have a fairy godmother show up and do anything. But like pumpkin coaches would be amazing.
My dear, I could use one now.
Yeah, I'm the same.
It's like, give me a winning lottery ticket that's more than $2 or $10.
Yeah, right?
Right?
It's like, hey, I've won the lottery again. Like, I don't care if it only lasts till midnight, whatever. Just like, let's go. Let's ride in the pumpkin mobile.
Yeah. Oh, pumpkin mobile. Yeah.
Oh, wonder if it smells like Thanksgiving inside.
I think eventually it'll just smell like rotting pumpkin.
Could you imagine not getting that smell? Oh,
jack-o'-lanterns. Boy.
Ooh.
Yeah, then for Halloween, you just carve some holes in it, make it a jack-o'-lantern.
And in the live-action remake, which I really like because it's very different from the cartoon, even though the characters are there, and you have Kate Blanchett as Lady Tremaine, she's wonderful, and Helena Bonham Carter comes along as the fairy godmother, and it's directed by Kenneth Branagh, and Lily James is beautiful in it. But just the transformation of the pumpkin. And they didn't think about it because they're in like a greenhouse, a terrarium, and then it's just like, oh, okay, didn't think that one through. And then when it's transforming back, it's fantastic.
Oh, it's so well done.
Yeah, like when you think of fairy tales, you automatically think of this image of the pumpkin coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then what about our favorite car? We got Ka-chow, Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, cars. The whole cartoon is all about cars. And Tow Mater.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, but do you know why he's called Lightning McQueen?
Go ahead.
I suspect, I'm not sure, this is only a suspicion, it goes back to Steve McQueen and Bullitt.
That makes sense.
Because like Steve McQueen and Bullitt has like the longest car chase filmed ever in that iconic 1968 Ford Mustang GT. And then you have Lightning McQueen, who is a stock car for racing. But it has a similar look to that particular car.
I always thought it had to do with Steve McQueen because like I know with The Great Escape where they had to have him do both both motorcycle people because
Yeah.
nobody could keep up with him. So it makes sense for it to be Lightning McQueen, Steve McQueen. Like, it kind of works. But
yeah, and it's just a great little cartoon, you know? It's
Yep.
talking about Route 66, very iconic route from Chicago, I believe, all the way out to California. And that was the tourist destination way back when. Like, it's still their dream to drive Route 66 or what's left of it.
And so the other day, it was really funny. We were actually talking about cars for some reason. I don't remember exactly why. But I brought up that there was a Pope-mobile in the Cars universe. So it's a Pope car inside the Pope-mobile car. And if you dive into the Cars universe, it is a wild, wild ride. And I won't get into all of it because I've read some stuff. But it gets crazy.
Aren't there like 3 Cars movies?
There's 3 cars and there's like an airplane.
Yeah,
but they all just look like JJ the Jet Plane to me. So they really just ripped off JJ the Jet Plane.
Oh my gosh!
I'll put that one out there.
Possibly.
Anyway.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. Well, you listen. I know people. This is like favorite properties, but we got to move on because we cannot do a part 3 on this.
No. Herbie the Love Bug.
Oh my god,
Herbie!
I think one of the very first vehicles that was ever kind of filmed that it was a sentient being. Herbie had a mind of his own, and he got people. Like, there's so many Herbie movies,
including one with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah,
that's one that I never saw it, but that's how I know about Herbie.
Yeah, and
I grew up on the movies. Like they were all out, except for the Lindsay Lohan one, they were all out by the time I was a kid.
But everyone knows the Love Bug.
It was a huge series. It was very popular in the 70s. People would actually drive Volkswagen Beetles designed to look like Herbie.
Oh yeah,
there's one around town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the fact that around our area we have an Ecto-1, we have a DeLorean, we have a Herbie, and we have a Mystery Machine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they show up, whoever owns them, they kind of show up just out of nowhere, out of kind of randomly, and you're just kind of like, yes.
That Mystery Machine is just parked in random parking lots, and I think he does it just to mess with people.
I love it.
I would. But I want Herbie's back. When I was a kid, I loved Herbie. You know, I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't love a car that can drive itself and that can do all kinds of things and just like help you catch bad.
Instead, we get Teslas.
No. Oh, dude. Okay. Car manufacturers, hear me. Make a self-driving Volkswagen Beetle. Oh, we got the EV plant coming. Oh, no.
St. Thomas make it.
Isn't it a Volkswagen EV plant?
It is.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Listen. I want a self-driving Herbie. That's it.
Let's go.
Self-driving Herbie.
It'll happen.
It's got to happen. Got to happen.
Yes.
I guess we should move on.
Probably before we...
Final part of our Disney collection is a ship with black sailed by the crew of the damned and a captain by a man so evil that hell itself spat him back out. The Black Pearl.
Gotta love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. This sort of kicked off Disney doing all these movies based on their rides, which I thought was brilliant. They still haven't given me a good Haunted Mansion movie, but I forgive them because they gave me wonderful Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
It's an interesting series of movies because it's really interesting how a ride lent itself to a movie series.
And to be honest, I think it's some of their best work. Like the first one for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Second, third.
Sleeper Hit was great.
Yeah.
They're good, but like,
and you know, it's amazing about Disney too, because you said, they turned rides into movies. Well, they also turned movies into rides.
Oh, yeah.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, when they built Disneyland. I was there at the original Disneyland. It's amazing. Back in the day. Just saying.
But the Black Pearl itself has such a rich history that like they had to cut all the history out because the movies ran too long.
Yeah.
But if you look back and look at all the deleted scenes, the reason why Jack Sparrow got the reputation that he got and then how he came back, it's amazing. They put so much thought into it, and it explains Jack so much better with him like dumping all the cargo of what is quoted as black gold. And yeah, it's amazing.
But why is there no rum?
Why is the rum always
Why
gone?
is the rum always gone?
So just before we leave Disney, I do want to give an honorable mention, and I'm going to mention this kind of across the board, and that is broomsticks.
Oh,
Broomsticks. From Hocus Pocus, and especially Kathy and Jimmy riding a vacuum cleaner and Roombas.
God.
To the Wicked Witch of the West, to Samantha Stevens. You know, what is more iconic than a witch's broomstick? Except maybe bed knobs and broomsticks, where they ride a bed through the whole thing. Again, witchcraft. But honorable mention straight across the board to the witch's conveyances of either a 4-poster bed or a broomstick.
A broomstick, yeah.
Or a vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner, yeah.
Now, I got to talk about one of my favorite cars ever. I hope this is lasting generations. He's still with us. Dick Van Dyke is still with us. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Funny story. My mom said that her brother couldn't say chitty chitty when he was younger.
Did he say something that rhymes with chitty chitty?
Well, it came out with an S instead of a CH.
So it
and
rhymes.
that's what he called the movie for the longest time.
No.
He's entitled to his wrong opinion.
He was just doing his Sean Connery impression.
Oh, clearly.
Listen, I love when you get into the fantasy sequence of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but let's just stop for a minute that this inventor, played by Dick Van Dyke, is named Caraticus Potts or Crackpot.
Yep.
So clever.
And this is the same guy that did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that did the James Bond movies, which is why that's why she's called Truly Scrumptious, because those are the kind of names he comes up with.
Ian Fleming did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Yes, he did. And the Cubby Broccoli, Albert Broccoli, who did the James Bond movies based on the Ian Fleming books, produced it. And it's part of the screenplay was written by Roald Dahl from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
So with a mix of all of that, no wonder it's so
whimsical and rich.
Magical,
and very British.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, yeah.
Listen, there are productions of it, and there's 2 characters that I would be happy to play. Believe it or not, it is not Caraticus Potts at all. I would either want to play like the Emperor of Bulgaria or the Child Snatcher.
Yeah, that guy scared the crap out of me.
Isn't he like the scariest villain ever?
Jesus, he is so scary.
Oh, I know. And he always felt like he was in the movie more than he actually is.
I know, but that's always the presence of a good villain.
Yeah, I would just love to play the Emperor just because of the song "You Are My Chichi Face."
Yeah,
I love how he's basically trying to just murk his wife throughout the whole. It's just a wonderful movie, and kids need to see it if they're not seeing it. Like, it's just one of those seminal things, like the Wizard of Oz, that needs to be there forever. And the whole story about how Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a wreck of a car just in this junkyard, and they rescued it, and they brought her back to life, and they gave her all these wonderful power, like just this beautiful aesthetic that it's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get into the fantasy part of it, all the wonderful things that happen, like the wings that come out and the raft that and then the propellers, and so that she can fly. And then at the very end of the movie, she does fly.
Oh my God, she is a James Bond vehicle.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's hilarious.
Speaking of which, because we're talking about that, we need to talk about James Bond's Aston Martin just a little bit.
Yes.
I think out of all the vehicles that they have come up with for James Bond, it is the one that every Bond fan thinks of and remembers.
The Aston Martin. I mean, there's been some interesting cars, like some of the gimmicky stuff, like the floating car, or whatever, or the submersible car. Whatever.
Yeah, from Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to try and keep track of what car is in which movie, because there's
Yeah.
20 plus movies at this point. But the original Aston Martin, or the original movie having the Aston Martin, is so iconic and so... What's the word I'm looking for? It's so...
It's beyond
eccentric.
iconic. It is legendary.
Yeah, and it's so important to who and what James Bond is.
It's the aesthetic of James Bond, like the martinis and the classic tuxedo and playing Baccarat at a casino. And
Yeah.
that everything that screams James Bond. And this Aston Martin is part of that.
100%.
You know, with the spy gadgets from the 60s that seem so fantastical to the audiences back then.
Yeah. And they've even done different versions, like different models of the Aston Martin throughout the year. It has stuck with James Bond as a constant.
Well, aliens, so many iconic vehicles. We didn't even realize we're getting real close to our top 5. But before we get there, let's go back to my generation. One of the seminal movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
When the car, the 1985 Modena GT Spider California. Oh my God, that scene, because every Gen Xer has been there touching your dad's stuff that you're not allowed to touch. And Cameron just goes comatose after they wreck the thing.
Cameron is such a mood, though. It hurts every time to see that car go off the garage.
I know.
Oh,
And the thing of it is, it's like, these are the consequences of Ferris Bueller's actions, right? Like, he can't just get away with these sort of things where he actually thinks he destroyed his best friend.
Yup. But we all know now that you cannot run a car backwards and reverse the odometer numbers.
God bless you, Mythbusters. God bless you. But
We figured it out in that movie, though.
But what a beautiful car that was, you know, and just to see it go crashing through I mean, it's right up there with the Donkashane scene, you know, like everything about that movie is just wonderful. It speaks to Gen X. It is up there. We hold it in high regard and reverence. And especially it's one of those first movies, too, that had a stinger at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Ferris comes out and he's like, what, you stayed here past the credits? Go home. What's wrong with you?
Speaking of pop culture, to be completely honest, I have not lived in a world where we don't have a teacher. Bueller, even before we saw the movie, which, I mean, I saw it pretty young, but still, Bueller.
Yeah.
That's just a thing that happens.
I have seen people talking about the different vibes, how like when they were young, they had like, did you have a Ferris vibe? Did you have a Cameron vibe? Did you have, now I can associate with Ed Rooney. It's like, no, I don't associate with Rooney. I associate with Ben Stein. Bueller.
That's how I feel at work sometimes.
I know, that's how we all feel.
Pepperoni pizza. Okay, whatever.
It's how we all feel. It's how we all feel. Oh my gosh. But also in that era, a little bit before Ferris Bueller, we had the Blues Brothers and their Bluesmobile.
Yeah.
Old police car that, you know, still rocks on. They do a show in Universal with the Blues Brothers.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
Nice.
The car will come out and have the speaker on there and they'll do a musical review.
I saw the House of Blues and Disney. Oh, it's wonderful. They have life-size statues of the Blues Brothers. It was so cool.
We're on a mission from God.
On a mission from God. Once again, I grew up with Blues Brothers.
I just love the fact that they put that car through hell and back throughout the entire run of the movie, and it doesn't die. And when it does die, it's spectacular because it falls apart completely, but it doesn't die until the very end of the movie.
Oh, speaking of cars that probably die throughout the movie, one of your favorite properties, the Jurassic Park Explorers.
Oh boy.
With 4 cars.
Oh man.
The Explorers.
I like, listen, you cannot think of Jurassic Park without that scene with the kids in the car and the T-Rex coming
head
down with the glass, and the only thing between them is the plexiglass. And
when I saw that in theater, oh my god, oh man.
I love how the lawyer guy, he just like makes a run for it, and he left us.
And you gotta go.
Yeah, but then he went in spectacular fashion. He did get his.
Oh boy, did he ever! So with the Jurassic Park vehicle, it's such a cool thing because on a track, it's got a documentary track voiced by Richard Kelly, spared no expense, and yeah, it's got a great color scheme to it. And another really cool thing, it was another Transformer crossover. They have one that transforms.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, they've got a Transformer that transforms into Dracula. So I mean, I don't know.
I got one that transformed into Frankenstein now.
Anything that they can.
How would that one drink the blood? Is it drinking
It drinks the oil.
It drinks
the oil.
It drinks the Energon.
Drinks the blinker fluids from the cars.
Energon.
One, it's very rare that superheroes actually have iconic vehicles, but Wonder Woman does with the invisible jet.
Even though she can fly?
It's become, they got rid of the invisible jet because it's kind of a campy thing, right?
Yeah.
But it really sort of, it was there in the original Wonder Woman TV series with Linda Carter. Spectacular. She has to get around somehow. She couldn't fly back then, kiddies, I'm telling you. That's a new power that someone has written for her. But when you were watching Super Friends and watching her get around in the invisible jet, it was good that she had the invisible jet because out of all the Super Friends, Superman could fly. Batman had his own jet.
Mm-hmm.
And then how are the rest of them going to get anywhere?
Yeah.
Like if they didn't fly. So it's like Wonder Woman's like, I know, we'll take my invisible jet. Come on. But when the Wonder Twins showed up and they're just like, shape of an eagle, form of water, bucket, let's go. So yeah, you can't really think of Wonder Woman without thinking about her invisible jet, but I'm kind of glad that they sort of have gotten rid of it, but then they brought it into Wonder Woman 1984 in the dumbest of ways possible.
I mean, everything from that movie was the dumbest of ways possible. So,
and I apologize to Gal Gadot for watching it wrong.
I do not.
I do. That woman can step on my neck with stiletto heels, and I'll apologize for being in her way. I watched it wrong. One thing I did not watch wrong, though, is the Mad Max series. We can't talk about iconic vehicles without talking about Mad Max. Now, there is Mad Max's car, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want to talk briefly, before we talk about that car, I want to talk about the war rigs, because they make spectacular looking vehicles in the world of Mad Max.
Oh my God, I know.
Especially Fury Road. And I don't know the character's actual name, but he works for Moten Joe, and his entire purpose is just to be on top of the war rig, belting out on that guitar with flames shooting everywhere on a bungee cord in these red pajamas. And I'm just like, there is nothing more spectacular on filmdom than that.
So that would be the Kama Doof Warrior.
The Kama Doof Warrior is his actual name. You know what? I salute you, Kama Doof Warrior. You are my favorite thing in any movie, anywhere.
And he has an entire background as well.
You know what? I can't wait to see that after the show, because that's just spectacular. But Max's car itself, the one that kind of started it all, moving into Road Warrior and everything.
The Interceptor.
Yeah, what a beautiful vehicle that is.
Yeah, it is.
It's so iconic. You know the Interceptor. You go to Comic-Cons, they're always there. It's just a wonderful car to see.
I love it. It's so iconic that it's even like, okay, they've got Mad Max video games, that's one thing. But they actually have it in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, they have a few pop culture vehicles in there, but the fact that that's in there, that is just fantastic.
Like the whole Mad Max franchise is just, it hinges on all of these cars and the Road Warrior, all these sort of, it's almost like a big old demolition derby.
Oh yeah.
You cannot have a Mad Max movie without these road scenes. And the latest ones, Fury Road and Furiosa, those are like watching operas.
Mm-hmm.
They are stunning movies.
So there's a whole actual plot line in this one podcast I listened to, The Adventure Zone, where they race in cars. called the section's called Pedal to the Metal.
Oh.
And they race through a desert in cars that are kind of like the Mad Max stuff. And they're all like, they all have like animal masks. And
oh my
there's
gosh.
even like just a fish tank with like fish people in it. And it's so cool. And obviously, you know, they're big fans of all these movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But the cars that they describe in that are...
Listen, the latest one doesn't have quite the type of vehicles that, you know, the previous movies have had. But the war rig in that is still spectacular. But I have to talk briefly about Chris Hemsworth's character, Dementus. He rides around in a chariot which is fueled and pulled by 3 motorbikes.
Yes!
Excessive much?
It did not give me Karma Du Fourier, but it gave me Hemsworth as Dementus riding a chariot with 3 motorbikes.
Listen, I need to point out the fact, and probably point it out again, but I'll point out every time we talk about them. This is the same guy that made Babe and Babe Pig in the City that directed these movies. It just blows my mind.
They're all classics. Because what are you talking about?
He's Australia's upper echelon of directors.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our top 5. But before we do that, we wish we could have had a top 6. We just have a real honorable mention here. Hey, Gen Xers, you are going to know this car. You are going to know this Dodge Charger. I'm talking about that beautiful orange vehicle with the numbers 01 on the side. That's right. We're talking about the Duke Boys vehicle. We're talking about the General Lee. Now, listen, this car to that show was pretty much another character. You know, it didn't have lines. It didn't have, but it had a presence. And man, I wonder how many Dodge Chargers they went through jumping those ramps, trying to get away from Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Allegedly, somewhere between 255 and 325.
Wow, and that's over the course of the show?
Yeah.
Or is that like in one show? I mean,
could you imagine?
The budget must have been huge. I mean, good heavens. Yeah, you know, every kid wanted to drive this car. You know, every kid wanted to. I mean, the Duke Boys had to slide into it because it's a racing car. So, I mean, the doors were welded shut, you know? And it's just, I can't imagine growing up in the 80s without a show like the Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, it belongs in its time period, certainly, but you can't talk about iconic cars without mentioning the General Lee. Mm-hmm. So here is our top 5, though, and Nick, we're going to go to you for number 5.
For number 5, we have the Ecto-1. So I'm a huge Ghostbusters nut.
No, not you.
No
my brother's a bigger Ghostbusters nut. He has put together 2 full-size vehicles of a variation of the Ecto. He has his Ecto Z and he has his Ecto X. The Ecto X is an SUV, and the Ecto Z is actually a former hearse. Neat thing though, because we're also both massive Batman nuts. He put together the Ecto Z from a hearse that was originally had it was done up for Batman Forever, and so it had a whole bunch of Batman Forever decorations and decals and stuff on it. So yeah, and him and his wife, they go around to cons dressed up with the as Ghostbusters in Scotland, and they raise money for charity. They bring the cars,
much like the Ghostbusters group that we have here. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Ren, let's talk about number 4.
The DeLorean.
Oh, yeah. Time machine.
Most well known for the doors that pop up.
Back to the Future.
They're called gull-wing doors. Gull-wing doors.
I can't imagine the Back to the Future series without the DeLorean.
I could, but it would suck.
Look, you could have chosen any car, you know, but the fact that they chose a DeLorean is smart.
If you're going to build a time machine, build it into something with style.
Well, the thing is, these kind of cars were built for speed. They were built for racing. They were the people's dreams. The reason that you get those gull wings is because I have driven sports cars before when I was younger and trying to figure out what kind of car I wanted to drive. I got into some of these and I went, I feel like I'm driving right on the pavement. So it was a nay-nay for me. But I mean, that's the whole point of these cars, right?
Mhm.
Like they're low to the ground. They are built for the speed. They are built for that takeoff. And it was the 80s. A DeLorean like that, I mean, it was just sort of the, if you will, back to the General Lee a little bit. You had your redneck spirit there, with the muscle car, but then you also had your yuppie kind of, movement here with these sports cars. They were sleek, they were beautiful, and the DeLorean makes so much sense.
But even compared to other sports cars, it still was futuristic.
Yeah.
Like, just the base design before it was used as a time machine, it looked like a futuristic car.
It looked like something right out of Star Wars.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. And
speaking of space, the final frontier, we are talking about the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
The 1775 ship, right? With the big sails and the massive decks and in Lake Champlain?
No.
No? Oh, how about the there was a schooner and merchant vessels?
No.
The hot air balloon used in the Civil War.
That was a thing?
Apparently.
No.
The space shuttle.
Closer.
All right, I give up.
The USS Enterprise from Star Trek, of course.
Oh.
NCC 1701.
The original. Well, at least the first one we've been introduced
to. Exactly.
With Kirk and Spock and Scotty and Chekhov and Uhura and Sulu and McCoy. Oh.
So I love the design of the Enterprise. And when Roddenberry approached this, he went to the designers and said, don't give me a rocket, don't give me a saucer, give me something else. So he gave them all of it wrapped into one.
But the thing is, you look at a spaceship like that, you look at the design of it, and you sit there and you think, okay, so there's the saucer portion, which is where everybody does their thing from, sick bay and your quarters and the bridge and all that kind of stuff.
All the main decks.
And then you have basically what I consider the engines of it, and it's plausible to me.
So, fun nerd fact, those are called nacelles.
You are such a nerd. I did not know that.
Yeah. So we got the main saucer.
Yeah.
We got the neck.
Yeah.
We got the main hull.
Is it actually called the neck?
Yeah, it's called the neck.
Okay.
On the neck, we've got the pylons, which attaches the hull to the nacelles. And then you got the nacelles.
You should have gone into engineering.
I know.
You're Scottish.
I know far too much about the inner workings of a Federation starship.
But here again, we're looking at a vehicle that is almost like its own character. And, it was so heartbreaking when they blew it up in the movies.
Which time?
No, the first time in the movies.
I know.
Like, listen, you have to understand. Like, I come from that era where it was all fresh and new, where you didn't know this.
Yeah.
You did not know that they were going to choose to destroy the Enterprise.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And it doesn't matter which version of the Enterprise it is. They are all fantastically designed ships. And they do have, even going into the other ships like Voyager, for example, they do have a persona, a personality of their own.
Or the Borg's Cube.
The Borg's, oh man, I mean, we could do an entire show on Star Trek ships.
The Birds of Prey, like everything.
I love the Birds of Prey.
But I mean, that's what I mean. You have these really, really iconic starships, but that brings us to our number 2, probably the most iconic, quote unquote, starship. Don't come for me. I know it's not a starship technically, but it's a nice segue. So let's go with it. The Millennium Falcon.
So technically, fun nerd fact, it's a freighter.
It's a freighter.
Because it hauls cargo, you see.
Chewie, we're home.
The Millennium Falcon, I nearly said Millennial Falcon. The Millennium Falcon is easily, I love the Enterprise, but the Millennium Falcon is my favorite starship. It is my favorite spaceship. I have spent hours of my life poring over the diagrams and the blueprints of the ship. I know the inner workings of it. I know where everything is located on it. I love this ship. I want to go to Disney World. Yeah, you go.
So story time.
Story time.
My friend and I are standing, waiting for Disney to open. And then as soon as the doors open, the gates to the Hollywood studios, we book it back to
Black Spire Outpost. that what it's
Yeah,
called?
we book it back to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
We are in line for the Millennium Falcon. We are seeing the Millennium Falcon. I am almost crying. And then as we go in, we're going around, and of course we couldn't do the quick one. We had to just keep going. And we got in line, like got in the space. So we're sitting, waiting. I saw the chessboard. I saw the seats. It was so cool. We're waiting. We walk in, and I get to fly the Millennium Falcon. First thing in the morning, I get to fly the Millennium Falcon. It was amazing.
Ren? We hate you.
It was great.
They bet it was.
I can't imagine. Can you imagine sitting there in the cockpit of the
It was
Millennium
great.
Falcon?
So
Yes, I've imagined it many times. Thank you.
my friend did the one direction, did the left and right, and I did the up and down, and then I got to pull the thing for hyperspace.
Oh,
it
so
was beautiful.
jealous.
I got to punch it.
Oh my
It
So
was great.
jealous. Listen.
And then I did it again, and I had this kid standing behind me, and
The-
the mom's like, "Oh, maybe you'll be able to go up front." I'm like, "No, mine."
There is not a person from Gen X, maybe even some younger boomers, I'm not sure, but there isn't anybody from that moment of 1977, if you live in a climate that has snow, where you have not sat there and gauged the idea that there are no other cars, and it's snowing pretty heavily, and you put on your high beams
Yep.
just so you can go into hyperdrive.
Oh,
Yep. Yep.
honestly, I can, like, I'm a very happy human being that I got to fly the Falcon. I don't need to do anything else in my life.
And the arguments over the Falcon, and then you have Princess Liz like, you came here in that thing? You're braver than I thought.
Yep.
Okay. Just talk. So we talked a little bit about vehicles that were their own character. There is no vehicle that hits that note more than the Falcon.
Yeah.
The Falcon is legitimately its own character. They push that a little too hard in the Solo movie.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, it has its own aesthetic. It has its own personality. It is temperamental.
Mhm.
It is beautiful. It is ugly. It is a character.
Yeah.
Again, just like Serenity. Millennium Falcon and Serenity, they're both their own characters. They're both grungy.
Yeah.
They're both, used for smuggling. They
All
got
right.
secrets they're never going to give away.
All right, guys, we're getting to our number one here. Now, before we get to our number one, Aliens, I know there's so many vehicles that we missed. We could have talked about the Jupiter one from Lost in
Oh my
Space.
God.
We could have talked about Fonzie's motorbike from Happy Days. We could have talked about any kind of vehicle or car. If there's
I could
one...
have talked about the Zords. Power Rangers.
Okay.
Oh,
God.
If there's one that we missed, we'd like to hear from you.
mhm.
But this is the one that both Nick, Ren, and Spooky Uncle John came up with as our number one. Can you guess what it is? Here's the drum roll. We're all going to say it at the same time. The Batmobile. Oh, man.
Okay.
Of course the Batmobile has to be number one.
And yeah, so it's hard to it's hard to choose which Batmobile. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that the Batmobile didn't really have a personality per se until that 66 television show. Before that, it was like a gangster vehicle with a bat head on it. It was kind of weak sauce. Sometimes
Yeah.
it was a Porsche, whatever.
Yeah.
But when they first released that Batman show and you saw that was the first time it was something different. And that set the tone for every Batmobile going forward.
George Barris's most famous creation.
Yeah.
You know?
And
some of them have been hot garbage. Like I think it's the one with, I think it's the Val Kilmer Batman. Is that or the George Clooney one? One of those Batmobiles is not
both
great.
Those were both designed to sell toys.
Oh, they weren't great. But like you said, the 1966 Batman TV series and the Tim Burton Batman Batmobile. Yeah. Oh,
The Tumbler is also fun. I love the Tumbler.
Yeah.
And a lot of you look at the Tim Burton one, and that one then starts to kind of inform not just other movies, but it informs the Batman the Animated TV series Batmobile. The Batmobiles in the comic book start to take on a form closer to that Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually in the graphic novel Hush, there is a scene where you see all of the Batmobiles that Bruce has had up until that point, including the ones from the comics, including the ones from the TV shows, including the ones from the movies. They're all in that one shot, and it's fantastic to see them all there.
Yeah, I mean, like, if Batman didn't have a plane, if he didn't have a boat, so what? But he's the Batmobile. I mean, it's one of those things too that in the comics, in the shows, in the movies, the criminal element sits there and goes, "Oh, they might see the Batmobile, they might see the bat signal, and they're like, oh, the bat's out, the bat's out." But yep, no crime tonight. Let's go. It's that symbol, if you will, kind of like Superman's cape. You have to have that gothic kind of sensibility to it that helps to instill the fear into the hearts of man.
One of my favorite things is Batman Arkham Knight. You get to control the Batmobile. And not only that, you get skins for a whole bunch of different versions of the Batmobile, including the 66 version. But it's so cool to be able to not just control Batman, but drive the Batmobile and wreak havoc with it as well.
Right. Okay, so we got to wrap this up, guys, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depends on your perspective. But I want to ask, out of all the cars that we've talked about, out of all the boats, out of all the planes, out of all the spaceships, what's your favorite? Your absolute 100% favorite.
Oh, could you not? It's like,
I know it's a real tough call for you.
Yeah, it is. I'm
gonna go with the TARDIS.
Okay, good choice. And why?
So much space for activities. And honestly, just the blue box and time machine and time travel, and also comes with the side of the Doctor. So
comes with the side of the Doctor. Nick,
the Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
100% the Falcon. I have never, like I said, I love the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is an incredibly close second. But the Falcon is a dream.
Yeah.
And I've driven your dream.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Yeah, just the Falcon. I mean, I could name other Corellian freighters, but the Falcon.
And John?
Mine actually is a car we didn't list.
Oh.
Surprisingly enough. I love Elvira's car.
Yeah.
I just love the classic lines of it. I love the leopard skin seat. I love the chain steering wheel. I love everything about Elvira's Macabre Mobile. It is a 1959 Ford Thunderbird.
Ooh, the Thunderbirds.
Oh, it's a beautiful car for a beautiful woman. And of course, it speaks to spooky Uncle John. I want a car like that. Not exactly like that, because that's her shtick, but I want one of those kind of classic black cars to roam around in as spooky Uncle John. Okay, aliens, that is all the time we have for this episode of Area 51 and a half. Nick, remind our aliens how they can get a hold of us.
Again, you can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at the Area 51H. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Area 51 and a half. And again, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com, A51H.
This is Spooky Uncle John and
Snyderman 501 Nick Snyder.
Ren, who drove the Millennium Falcon.
We hate you
so much.
Saying thank you for joining us here on the landing pad, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.